Hi guys, welcome to our first tasting kit. This tasting kit is the Jet Setter. We've called it the Jet Setter because you're going to be tasting wines from all over the world. So today we have 3 whites and 3 red wines for you to be tasting, and if you'd like to follow along as well, we're also going to be cooking a chicken with honey roast carrots that's going to be perfect pairing for our Mezza Pezza Primitivo later on. I'm going to run through all the equipment that we're going to need for today's cooking. So we're going to need a little baking tray, a frying pan, a pot, knife, peeler, 5 carrots, and 6 potatoes, 2 chicken breasts, and a chopping board, and this will serve 2 people for their main course. For our spices, we're going to use garlic, mixed herbs such as oregano, thyme and rosemary, pepper, some fresh honey, salt, and finally olive oil. First of all, we're going to take our carrots and peel our carrots. So while we're doing this, why don't we jump into the first tasting. Side note, before we carry on, let's place our pot of water onto boil and also put our oven onto 190 degrees. So let's take our salt, pinch of salt in the water, put your pot on top on the maximum heat you can, and also place your oven on at 190 degrees. Now, back to the wines. Hi guys, welcome to part 1 of our 6-part wine tasting adventure. Starting with a Chesler from the producer Bernard Gorja. Bernard Gorja is a producer in Switzerland, here in the Aron-Villette region. Just behind me you can see their domain where they're growing the grapes. Chesler is one of the most commonly produced grapes here in Switzerland. A lot of people actually consider it a national treasure because of the amount they produce. First off, we're going to give it a taste and I'm going to show you how we're going to be tasting these wines. So, grab your pouch, grab your glass, and let's get going. Sorry to interrupt you there, Harry. Now we've peeled our carrots, I've taken off the bottoms and I've also chopped them down the length way. We've also peeled our potatoes and now we're going to quickly chuck them into the boiling water that should be boiling by now. Back to you. So now we have our glass and our pouch. We're going to slowly pour our wine. When we're tasting wine, there are 3 main things we're looking for: the look, the smell, and the taste. So let's start off with this one. The best way to look at it is to hold it flat at a 45-ish degree angle with a piece of white paper below. If you're like me and you haven't come prepared, conveniently our logo's right there. So I'm going to hold it with the sunlight and look through under the white. For me, I see a very pale lemon colour to the wine. It's really not that bright and colourful. This means that normally it's a very light wine we're going to be tasting. Next, we're going to be swilling it. Just gently moving the glass round in circles to help aerate the wine and bring more oxygen into it. This helps improve the smells and both the taste of the wine. Next up, we want to take a big sniff of the glass. You want to really try to get your nose as far into the glass. One thing I like to do is curl my lips a little bit to really trap the glass onto my nose and get a really good whiff. I know you might look a bit weird, but hey, who's judging? We're here to taste wine. So on the nose I'm getting some really sort of fresh green apples, young citrusy notes, something light, nothing too strong and heavy. This is something you'd expect really from a classic Chasselas just like this. Chasselas are really meant and designed for drinking as an apéro. They can have a huge variety of wines that can be produced from the Chasselas grape. However, it really depends on what the producer and what the domain wants from it. The majority go for something nice, light and simple. Now let's taste. When you taste, you want to swill the wine around the inside of your mouth. If you want to look like the professionals, you also suck oxygen at the same time. It looks at something little like this. Now on the taste, it tastes very much the same as on the nose. We've got sort of those nice citrusy flavours hitting the back, It's not making my mouth burn, and that's how you can tell from acidity in the wine. It's really just there and I can feel it, but nothing too strong. The alcohol levels as well, I'm not feeling too strong of an alcohol level. This is 12.5%, a relatively low alcohol when you compare it to some of the other reds or whites that can come up to 14, 15 or even 16% alone. Again, you notice when you're drinking this wine, it's got a really light body. One way I can describe with the body is if you take a glass of water next to it and tip them both at the same time, water is sort of a light body, and that's how you can determine what it is. Obviously, depending on your region, water has different weights to it. I know, weights. However, majority wine and water, light body is the same thing. That's how, for this wine, it's a light body. It's not feeling heavy in my mouth, it's not feeling heavy on my palate, it's not making me saliva too much, so I know that the alcohol and the acidity is low, and also it's just a light wine overall. It's often off dry, similar to this wine is. Not too dry again, not making my mouth squinge, but it's just a perfect wine for drinking an Aperol. One thing I forgot to mention was also how short the finish is. Once you're trying our second wine, the Extravaganza that's coming up, it has a much longer finish. This wine, once you've taken the sip, it's sort of gone, the flavour in your mouth is gone after 5-6 seconds max. The wine that we're about to taste has a 30-second sort of difference. Absolutely wonderful wine. So I'll let you guys finish these and I'll show you some shots around the vineyards here. But anyway, enjoy. I'm sure you guys must have enjoyed that first wine, the Chilian from Viet, just outside, down the road from me here. Next up, we're going to be cooking our chicken. We're going to take our frying pan, we're going to place it on the heat with our olive oil inside, but we want it on sort of if your pan goes up to 9, I'd put it on about a 6 or a 7. So I'm going to take our 2 chicken breasts, and on top of our chicken breasts, I'm going to add a small pinch of salt to cover them completely on one side. I'm going to next take my pepper on both sides as well. Next up, we're going to take our garlic, give it a nice healthy dose of garlic because I quite like the garlic. And finally, a pinch of the mixed herbs as well. Now our pan should be nice and hot. You can tell because the oil inside will be really liquidy compared to before. When it's nice and hot, you're going to want to take your chicken that you've put your garlic, salt and pepper on both sides and place them gently into the pan. We're going to crisp up both sides, but not cook it throughout the whole way, because after we've crisped up both sides, we're going to place it into the pan on top of all the vegetables to cook it thoroughly. This will also give the vegetables a lovely chicken flavour as all the drippings will fall out onto the vegetables. Back to you, Harry, for our next wine. Now, let me introduce you to our next wine. This is the Extravaganza. The Extravaganza comes from the producer Trullo di Pisa, from the Salento region of Puglia. This is the beautiful region on the heel of the boot in Italy. Known for its stunning landscapes and beautiful mountains, Trullo di Pisa is set on 100 hectares of land. This creates a beautiful wine. Something as well that they really produce is organic wine. If you want to learn more about organic wine, you can check out our blog. But to give you a quick rundown, organic wines means there's certain rules and regulations on the amount of pesticides being used, and also how the grapes are stored, how the bottles are stored, and how the land is kept and looked after. Like I said, if you want to check out more, you can check our blog out on organic and natural wines. There'll be a link in the description below. Now, let's take our glass and our next pouch. Pour our wine into the glass, and let's do step number 1, the look. So, here we have a beautiful wine that is a more golden colour than our first wine we tried, the Chasselas. However, it's still very pale and almost really opaque. Now we're going to see what it's like on our nose. Again, curling our lips to get a good smell of the wine. In this wine, I can taste some really peach notes, some stone fruits. It's really a beautiful fruity wine. Next up, the taste. Now, this wine is really buttery and creamy. It's also not too full-bodied. It's a medium-bodied white wine, which means it's not heavy on my palate, it's not weighing me down. This is something I might pair with fish, grilled chicken, or even maybe a salad. Again, on the nose, it's just a wonderful, fruity wine. And those fruits are still coming through when I taste it. One way to tell about a wine's acidity, dryness, all of this, is all to do with the backs of your mouth. It's to do with the saliva that comes from here. If a wine is really dry, you'll know it because you can feel it in your mouth. Your mouth will feel like you've just placed a sponge deep inside of it, drying up the whole thing. Whereas this wine, it's not like that. It's not even anywhere near it. However, it's not sweet. I'm not feeling like I've just bit into a chocolate bar or a sweet. Therefore, we call this sort of a medium wine, medium body. The acidity, not very high at all. It's not making my mouth saliva so much. And again, with the alcohol content, this is a simple 12.5%, similar to our first wine we tried. Now, I'll let you enjoy this or head on to our cooking section while I set up for the next wine. Thanks, Harry. Right, now our chicken's nice and crispy and brown. We're going to place it onto our side to rest. Whilst it's resting, our carrots and potatoes should almost be finished. And then after this, we can place it all in the oven and you can finish off all the wines. Back to you, Harry. For our final white wine, we've gone to the Ardèche region, down in the southeast of France, between Lyon and Montpellier. This wine is a Chardonnay from the producer Louis Latour, Maison Louis Latour. Maison Louis Latour is one of the most famous producers of Chardonnay within France and a really famous producer for many other types of wine as well. This comes from a IGP zone, or Indication Géographie Protégée. This means that, again, similar to organic wines, there's specific laws and regulations that wines have to go through in this area to be able to call themselves a wine from this zone. We're going to taste this wine now and see if those standards have been upheld. Now, I hope your cooking is also going well at the same time, but more important than cooking is the wine. We all know that. On the look, take a little cork. It's similar to the first wine, a pale lemon colour. Not quite as pale as the Chasselas, however, still very pale. Step 2, the nose. On the nose, similar to the Grana, it's very buttery. To be able to test this, grab a stick of butter from your fridge and give it a smell. At least if it's fresh butter, you'll be able to see what I mean. In the background, there's some lingering notes. In the industry, we'd call it, in the wine industry, we'd call it tree notes. Things like apples and pears that you can just about get in the background there if you get a real good smell. Lastly, it's almost got a slight yeasty smell, like fresh baked bread. Although it's quite difficult to find on some of the smells. Next up, let's taste it. Wow, just an absolute classic Chardonnay. I'm sure most of you have probably tried a Chardonnay before, but this one really is great. Smooth, elegant, just great to drink. This I can see pairing with a risotto very nicely. It's not acidic again, it's not high and dry, it's not anything too outstanding at any of the fields. When we rate wines for WSET, you go by a standard. You have to rate it on different scales, and at the end you decide whether the wine is balanced, meaning you get a good score, very good, or it's not balanced, where you decide it's a bad or very bad. This wine, I would definitely put it towards the good, very good side. The alcohol level at 13%, it's relatively middle of the road. However, it doesn't taste anywhere near low in alcohol, and it doesn't taste anywhere near high in alcohol. It's just a perfect white wine. And again, it just feels a bit heavier than the water when you drink it, meaning that it's more of a medium body, maybe to a medium full body. However, again, it's just, there's no high acidity, there's no high anything in it. This what makes this Chardonnay a great drinking wine. Once again, I'll let you pause here, ponder your thoughts whilst we get on to the red wines. Right, now our veg is ready. One way to make 100% sure that it's just exactly as we want it, you take a small sharp knife, place it into the vegetable, and it should slowly just plop off the end of your knife. Same with the carrots as well, they just fall off the knife, don't even get picked up. So what we're going to do is take our veg, place it into our baking tray, just like this. Take our honey, cover it in honey, all over. Don't be too shy with it. Place a little bit more salt on top. Finally, add a little bit more pepper. Place your 2 chicken breasts. And now you can stick it back into the oven for another few minutes, around 15 minutes. Back to you, Harry. Now, to kick off our red wine journey, we're going to be going with this Garnacha from Raíces. I'm sure I butchered the saying of that. My Spanish isn't great, so don't hold me to it. However, this comes from the Valencia region of Spain. It's a very, very classic region to produce Spanish Grenache. Spanish Grenache is one of the most famous Spanish grape varieties that is grown in this region and across Spain in general. So, as you can see, I've swapped my glass. This glass is what we call a Pinot Noir glass. The reason I swapped my glass is because the Pinot Noir glass, compared to the white wine glass I had before, has a very large bowl with a slightly tapered top. This allows for really good aeration of a lighter red. Gives it nice floral notes and helps bring out those really delicate aromas that you can find in a wine. However, if you haven't got one of these glasses, don't panic, you will still be able to get exactly the same from the regular white wine glass. Let's take our pouch, pour it in, and you can already see a beautiful ruby hue as it comes out of the bag. Now, looking at it, which is step number 1 as always, it's sort of a medium to deep purple colour. You can just about see the edges of the wine. I'll show you a description on the screen here, which will show you how the wine can be described between light, medium and dark. One way is the golden rim or the see-through rim around the outside of the wine when holding it at such an angle. Next up, let's give it a smell. See, on the nose, it's lovely and has some delicate spices in there, almost like pepper in there. You can also sort of smell a tiny bit of the oak age they do over there. Something very famous with the Spanish barrels is they actually take the barrels and they ship them off to, once used for wine, they ship them off to distilleries in Scotland for whiskey. because this helps improve the flavour of the whiskey as well. So I'm sure that this has been aged in a lovely barrel like so. Now for the taste. Oh yeah, just as I thought. Peppery, slightly spicy. It's not a hard wine. It's not a full body like a Pomerol or a light body like the Pinot Noir. This wine is very just delicious. It melts in your mouth. It's something I could see definitely having with a barbecue or with a steak perhaps, just because of the spiciness of it would add some extra flavours to those meats that you're cooking on the grill or the steak that you're having with your dinner. But more specifically on the taste, those spices are almost paired with like a light fruitiness, almost like a blackcurrant or a blackberry. And you can really get it on the nose as well. It's really a beautiful wine again. Now, Spanish wines has a long history. A lot of people think French is the best wine, France produces the best wine. However, Spain have become, and were always actually, one of the most well done producers of wine in Europe. However, I'll stop chatting and I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of this wine. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the wine. If you think it's spicy, if you think it's fruity, just no answer in wine tasting is ever wrong. So let me know what you think down below. Now we're about 7 to 8 minutes into the cooking process. I'm going to take out my pot. Here we go. This time covering all the chicken. And if you really want to make it extra sweet, if you get a couple of spoons, and you can mix together all of the carrots to cover them fully in all the honey you've got. And then we're going to place it back into the oven. Back again to you, Harry. For our second red wine, we've gone all the way over to South America. We're in the Casablanca Valley in Chile. Here we have a beautiful Merlot, a Reserva Merlot. It's from the producer 1-to-1. 1-to-1 is a modern producer of wine. I know this sounds wrong, they're a modern producer of wine, however this wine is from 2013, so it's been almost 9 years old. Gosh, maths is going terrible after all these wines. Now, this wine is sort of the centre of Chile near Vina del Mar. The valley is known for its stunningly steep hills and its rolling hilltops at the top of them. Should we give it a try? I think so. Take a little pouch, give it a pour, get every last drop out. Let's not knock the chest this time. Anyway, let's go back through 3 steps. Step 1, the sight. This wine by the sight is very pale. Holding up against my hand, I can see almost the whole of my hand through it. And on my logo, I can still see twisted cork through and through. Make sure to recommend us to your friends. We make great wines. Now, step 2, on the nose. It just hits you in the face. Really oaky, woody smells. Wow, it's almost as if I've just taken a sniff of this table right here. It's something that's really strong on the nose. If you can't find it, or any other smells past it, maybe try to take a sniff of your previous wine if you have any left, or if you have another red open on the side, give that a smell, and then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. The wine, it's just shouts the wood, but should we see if it's the same in step 3, the taste? making sure we get the wine all around our mouth. This wine is really dominated by that woody, oaky flavour. This wine would be great for a dish that uses something that's like heavy, like maybe a game like venison or partridge, even pheasant, because those are also really strong flavours of meat. And when pairing a strong wine, you don't want it to overpower something weak, like a, say, filet mignon, which is a really sort of delicious cut, however, the flavours aren't really strong. So you want it to pair with something also just as strong as the wine. On the taste, apart from the oaky smell, the taste, sorry, I can also get sort of a blackberry note. If you want to try and find it at home and you haven't got any blackberries in the fridge, I suggest going and buying some, because really, take a little bite of one of them and then try it with your food, or try it with your wine, sorry. When trying wines, it's always great to do little tasters with different things whilst you're drinking your wine. One thing I always show to my friends is, with white wines, taste the wine, bite the lemon, taste the wine again. You'll see how it just changes so much in the pairing of how the wine develops with your food. With something like red wine, maybe take a little bit of hot sauce like Tabasco, try it on your hand, take a little bite, and then take the wine. Wine is such a complex and difficult thing to understand, but here at Twisted Cork we try to break it down and make it simple. If you have any questions about what I'm tasting or what I'm smelling, feel free to leave them down below and I'll try to reply to you as best I can. Or drop us an email at cheers@twistedcork.ch. Again, we'll respond to you as soon as we can and try to give you more in-depth descriptions. If you're trying to really improve your knowledge, you can also check out our blog posts over in our blog zone on the website twistedcork.ch. There we go into a bit more depth and detail about the ins and outs of what makes wines taste like this and why wines do certain things, how slopes can affect it, soils, the grape variety, and even the weather in the winter and the weather in the summer. But that is the really nerdy stuff, and I'm sure you guys are here just to enjoy some wine. So I'll let you get back to it. Enjoy the wine. I think Harry's almost ready with the food, so we'll cut back to him. So, we're back. The chicken, the veg, they should be ready. So before we serve it, we're going to check it first. We're going to take our chicken, put it onto our chopping board, grab our knife. With the knife, you're going to want to cut it at a 45-degree angle, just through the middle of the chicken. And you should see no pink on the inside of the chicken. With the chicken, we're going to serve it. Place one dish this way, rotate it, and serve it up on itself, like so. Same with the other one. Chicken, 45 degrees up. Next, place the carrots onto the plates. And then lastly, we're going to take out our potatoes and put those onto the plate as well. In the bottom of each dish as well, you should have a little liquidy sort of golden colour. This is a combination of the water from the carrots and potatoes and also the juices from the chicken. Now that our food is ready, we're going to take our last wine for today. The Mesa Primitivo. This comes from the same producer as the Chilian, the white wine that we tried earlier. I'm just going to take it out of our packet. There we are. And now we're ready to taste and to eat. So now for our last wine. If you've been following on with the cooking, your meal should be ready, and we're now moving on to our last one here. The Mesa Primitivo Salento. It's also from the producer Tullo di Beza, the same producer as our De Chiclana from the Salento region of Puglia. On the nose, the wine has some spice and dark fruit flavours. It's something that really stands out. When we're going to taste it, I can get a sort of jammy flavour almost to the red. It also tastes a bit like a sort of a peach jam or a stone fruit jam. This is why this dish pairs perfectly with our chicken here. Because we have the honey coming through the food and through the veg and through everything, it really goes well with the sweetness of this red wine. So what the best way to do to pair your wine, take a little bit of everything on your fork, or take a good old mouthful, and enjoy. I'll now leave you to finish the rest of your dinner. Make sure to look out for our second kit, which will be coming out hopefully soon.